Hello everyone and welcome to the session. I hope I'm clearly audible to everyone. Please let me know in the chat. Okay, thank you Ravi for letting me know. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes so that everyone else can join the session because people are still joining the session. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll go ahead and start with the session once everyone has joined. Anusha, we have started at 7 only. We are waiting so that everyone can join the session and then we'll go ahead and start. So in about 1 or 2 more minutes, I'll go ahead and start with the session. Okay, so now I think that most of the people have joined, so we can go ahead and start with the session. So today's session is about the Git assignments. So today is a hands-on session. So what we're going to do is we will have a look at the Git assignments over there. Today we will do from assignment 1 till assignment number 4. So what I will do, I will explain the assignments first and I will perform it over there on my end. Then after I have performed it, I'll give you some time so that you can also run it on your end. Right, so that is the agenda for today's session. I hope everyone is clear with it. Please let me know in the chat. Okay, so now I'm just going to share my screen and we'll have a look at the assignments. Everyone, please let me know if my screen is visible to you guys or not. Okay, so this is the first assignment which we have available, and what we have to do in the assignment is we'll have to follow these particular steps that we have been given. Now, before we can go ahead and do this, obviously we'll have to create an instance or an environment where we will be able to work. Right, so I will go ahead and create an instance. I've already logged into my AWS account. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and launch an instance, and that is where we're going to work. So you can go ahead and use whatever environment your trainer has used or whatever environment you are familiar with. So if you were using Git Bash, or if you were using any other particular like an Azure virtual machine, a GCP virtual machine, whatever you are using, you can go ahead and use that. In my case, I will be using an AWS instance as the like machine where I'm going to have Git installed. Okay, so just for the sake of letting me know, just let me know what exactly is the environment where you guys work. So do you use Git Bash or do you use AWS instance? So what exactly do you use for practicing Git? Please let me know in the chat, everyone. Okay. So if you do use Git Bash, that is fine. You can go ahead and use it. PowerShell is also fine. If you use AWS, you can go ahead and use AWS. So whatever environment you are familiar and you are comfortable with, go ahead and use that. So I'll just launch the instance. I'll name it as Git session. I'll use Ubuntu as the AMI or the operating system. Key pair can remain, the instance type can remain T2 micro. Key pair, you can choose whatever key pair that you want to use. In my case, I'll select an existing key pair. For the network settings, I will select an existing security group, which is my default security group where I have already enabled all traffic. After I've given all of the configuration, I'll just launch the instance. So these are the configurations that I have set. So AMI is of Ubuntu, server type or instance type is T2 micro. The security group is my default security group where I have enabled all traffic. And apart from that, no changes are made. So I'll just launch the instance, and once it is in the running state, I will go ahead and connect to this particular instance, and we will begin our particular assignment steps. So this is a machine that we have created. It is in the running state right now. So I'll go ahead and connect to that instance using EC2 Instance Connect. So for connecting to the instance, if you use PowerShell, PuTTY, MovaXterm, that is fine. Just get the environment ready where you're supposed to work. If you're using Git Bash, then you don't need to like create anything. It will not take you any time. But if you're using AWS, you can go ahead and connect to the instance and get the environment ready, basically where you're going to work. In my case, I've already connected to the instance, and this is where I will be running the commands mentioned in the points that are mentioned in the assignment. Now, after we have performed a particular set of steps, I will update those particular steps in the code share link, and I will share this particular link with you in the chat so that you guys can also go ahead and copy and run the commands on your end. Once we have done a set of steps for the first assignment, or all of the 4 assignments we're going to perform, I will update them in the code share link. so that you can also run them on your end. So I'll give you some time after that, around 5 to 10 minutes, so that you can run it on your end as well. So this is the first step that we have been given based on what we have learned in the class. We have to first point create a new folder, and that folder is actually going to be acting as our repository and hold the files that have been mentioned over here. So we will be using the folder that we will create in point number A and initialize Git inside that particular folder to create that folder as a Git repository, right? And then we're going to have around 3 files in that particular folder, and then we'll go ahead with the staging and the committing. But for now, we need to create a folder, go inside the folder, initialize Git inside that folder, and create 3 files inside that particular folder. So the first point that we do, first of all, obviously we're going to check if Git is installed or not. And if you're using Ubuntu as the operating system for our virtual machine or for our instance, Git will already be installed, like as it is in this case. So we don't need to go ahead and manually install it. It will already come pre-installed. Okay, now for point number 1, we have to create a folder. That folder will be acting as our repository. So mkdir assignment 1. This is what I will name my folder. And then I will go inside that particular folder to initialize Git. So this is an empty folder. We have created it just now. And once we do go inside it, I will go ahead and initialize Git inside this folder. So Git init we will do to initialize an empty Git repository inside this particular folder. And once we have initialized the empty Git repository, the next task for us is to put 3 files inside that particular folder. And those 3 files are code, log, and output.txt. Okay, so we'll create those 3 files over here. So we have options that we have available for creating files in the case of Linux. We can use touch, we can use nano, vi, whatever we want to use. But since we have not been asked to put any specific content inside the files, we can directly go ahead and use touch to create the files. Touch is going to create an empty file. Obviously we can edit it later on, but since we do not need to have any specific content inside, that's why I will just go ahead and create the files using touch. So touch space and then the name of the 3 files. So code.txt, log.txt, and output.txt. This will create the 3 files which are required. And once we do have these files available, then we can begin with the staging. And for the staging, the files that we need to stage among those 3 files are code and output.txt. So in total, there are 3 files, but we only need to stage code.txt and output.txt file. Right? So we have the option available to stage all the files in my current location using the command git add space dot, but we are not supposed to do that because we are only supposed to go ahead and stage 2 of the files. So in order to do that, we can do git add space and then the names of the files that I will need to stage. And those files are code.txt and output.txt. So git add code.txt and output.txt. So if I do this, if I run this command, then only the 2 of my files that I have mentioned only they will be staged. But if I do mention dot, let's say, so get add space dot. Now if I will do get status, you will see that all the three files have been staged, and the command to unstage the files will also be mentioned to you. So if you have accidentally staged a file and you want to unstage it, so you want to remove it from the staging area and like send it back to the unstaged files, then you can run this particular command. So git rm minus minus cached and then the name of the file that you want to unstage. So in this case, the only file that is not supposed to be staged, that is log.txt. So if we go ahead and do git rm minus minus cached log.txt and then do git status, that file will be sent to the unstaged files or the untracked files back from the staged files. So that file is not staged anymore. Okay, so this is also an option that we have available that we can use. Now once we have yes, and if you accidentally stage a file that you did not want to stage, you can unstage it using this command. So git rm minus minus cached and then mention the name of the file that you want to unstage, and that is going to unstage that particular file. And once we have staged the files that are required, we simply need to go ahead and commit them. So git commit minus m and then the commit message. So committing code.txt and output.txt. So once the commit is done, if we will do git status now, you will see that both of the files that had been staged, they have now been committed, and the only file that remains is the unstaged file log.txt. Right, so we have staged both of the files which are required and we have committed them. The final step for us is to push them over there to GitHub. Right, so let me log into my GitHub account first. Okay, so I'm logged into my GitHub account and we can create a new repository that we're going to use for the assignment number 1. So the name I'm going to give is Git 1107 assignment 1, and I will create this particular repository. This is what I'm going to use as the repository for my first assignment. Right, but before I do this, I'll do the history and I will update it in the code shell link. That is it for the first assignment for now. Next, all that is left for us is to go ahead and push this particular repository from the local to the remote repository that we have created over here. This one. Okay. So now I'll give you some time to run these commands on your end. It will hardly take around 5 minutes for you to run them. So I'll give you 5 minutes. Go ahead and run these commands on your end. And if you are having any doubts, please let me know in the chat. Okay. So it's around 7:29 right now. Exactly 5 minutes I will give. So 7:34, exactly around 5 minutes. We'll go ahead and push the particular changes from the local repository to the remote repository that we have created over here, which is this one. Okay, everyone, please go ahead and run the commands on your end. No, Rohit, I have shared the commands that I have run, or the command history in the code shell link. I shared that link early on only, like before Yasin's message. You have to go ahead and have a look at those commands and run them on your end. I'm pasting it in the chat once again. This is the URL. Anil, once you are doing the git command, I'm sorry, the commit command, the output that you're getting, there will be an option called run, right? Under run, you will have two commands for git config global user mail and user name. These two commands, just go ahead and run those two commands, copy and paste them. After that, it should work fine. So these two commands that Git is recommending you to use, run, copy and paste those commands. Don't change anything. You don't need to change anything. Just copy and paste those commands over there in the terminal. in the git bash. After that, it should work fine for you. Anil, what exactly it is asking for is what exactly is your username and your email ID. Even though it is going to ask you for your username and the password later on when you will actually want to push, still beforehand also it is asking you what exactly is the username and password. By default, it is set. In this case, also in my instance as well, it is set by default. I did not have to do that. And by default, the username that is set is the username of your machine, right? But in the Git bash, it is not set. So we have to manually go ahead and set the username of the basically the user that is going to be using this particular Git bash. So there are two types of username and user mail that you can give. One of them is global and one of them is local. So in your case, you can see you have mentioned minus minus global, right? That means the global username. So any repository created on your machine will be using that username and email ID as the basis. Whereas you can set it for one particular repository as well if instead of global, you had mentioned local. I hope that makes it clear for you, Anil. No, not you don't like see. I told you to copy and paste the command that it is mentioning and it accepted it. So you don't have to mention any actual email ID, just an email ID in the format of an email ID. That is fine. So you don't have to mention your email ID. Yes, exactly. But when you would be working on an actual project and you were using Git Bash at that particular moment, you would use your company's email ID or whatever the email ID that you are using for that particular project. But in this case, you can go ahead and enter like dummy email ID. Okay. So now let us go ahead and push the particular repository to GitHub. So this is a remote repository. We will copy the HTTPS URL. So here you will see that there's HTTPS and there's SSH. We'll copy the HTTPS URL and we will add this particular remote repository URL over here using the git remote command. So git remote add origin and then the URL we're going to paste And this is going to add this remote repository's URL over here to this particular repository. So now I can push the particular changes from my local repository to my remote repository using the git push command. Before I do that, I will do git branch to check that which is the branch that is available. So there's the master branch. So we will just do git push origin master, and this is going to push the master branch from my local repository where I'm currently located to my remote repository, which is my GitHub repository. This is going to ask me for my username and my password. So I'll just enter my username, which is Samir8080. And for the password, we cannot actually enter our GitHub password. Instead, it is going to ask us to enter the personal access token. In order to create the token, what we have to do, we have to go to our user settings. So not our repository settings, not over here, but rather to our user settings. So we'll click over here and then go over to settings. Once we do open the settings, we'll scroll down to the final option in the left hand side menu, which will be developer settings. So we'll click on developer settings, go to personal access tokens and then tokens classic. Click on generate new token and then generate new token classic. Give the name to our token. So I'll just give the name 1107. And I will select the first option, which is repo. So I'll just select this first scope and then I will scroll down and then click on generate token. With this, our classic personal access token is created and we can use this one to push the changes from our local to our remote repository. So we'll copy this token and we will paste it over there in the password section. So right click and then paste and hit enter. So you will not be able to see what exactly is being written. Simply right click and click on paste and then hit enter. It is going to accept it and it will push the particular changes to the remote repository. Okay, so now if we will see over here in our remote repository, if I will refresh this page, you will see that we will have a branch available, which will be our master branch. So this is how we can push the changes from our local to our remote repository. So I hope everyone is able to understand this. Please let me know in the chat. I hope all of you are clear with this particular steps what we have done for the first assignment. In Chara, you have mentioned no. What were you unable to understand? At least let me know that. Like others are letting me know that this part they were unable to understand. You also let me know which part you were unable to understand. So go over there, click on your particular user, scroll down, click on settings. Under settings, here you will have developer settings in the final option. Click on that option. You will have three options over here. So you have to click on personal access tokens and then click on tokens classic. Here you have to generate the token. So click on generate new token and generate new token classic. Give a name to your token, whatever name you want to give. Select this first option for the scope. So just click on this checkbox and then scroll down and click on generate. It will create the token for you that you have to use as your password while pushing the change to GitHub. Yeah, you have not pasted the URL properly, Sushil. Before HTTPS, there is a question mark, square bracket 200 tilde. Paste the URL properly and then add it. So everyone, I hope you were able to understand this now. Yasin, Rohit, Rohan, I hope you were able to understand the get part, the token part now. Anil, do git branch first. So like I said, in my case, I did git branch first to decide what is the branch that is created. In your case, it might not be master, it might be main. So in that case, you have to do git push origin main. No, one token is sufficient, Santosh. If you are using like the fine grain token, fine grain tokens are created per repository, whereas classic tokens are created for the entire, you can say, all of the repositories that you do have. So if you have created one classic personal access token, you can use that for any single repository. Rohit, in that case, you have already previously used Git Bash and you have given the particular username and password already. Since you're using Git Bash, it might have opened a new browser window for you early on before you were using it. There, it might have asked you to like or sort of authenticate the connection, sort of like going ahead with continuing with Google. So login with Google. Similar to that, Git Bash asks you for the username and password for your GitHub account. And once you enter that, you will not need to give any password or token or anything like that while pushing the changes. You must have done that early on when you have used Git Bash for your practice. Yeah. So, Sushi, that means you've already added the remote repository over there. Run this command git remote -v and see whether you have added the proper repository URL or not. Anil, you also get okay. You have not mentioned the name of the repository where you want to push. You have just done git push master. That is not the command that I have mentioned. Please check it properly. It's git push, then the URL that you have added, which is origin. and then master. Yeah, Sushil, that means it is already added. So you can directly go ahead and do git push origin master. Rohit, here we have given the name as origin. Git remote add origin and then the URL. So when we are pushing git push origin and then the branch name, that is why we have used origin. If here instead of origin you had mentioned ABCD, you would have done git push ABCD master. Yes, you can use any name over there. Yeah, if you're using git bash, it might not ask you for the password because git bash has something called git credential manager, where instead of entering the token, you can directly use your like authenticate the connection or authorize the connection in between your GitHub, you can say, account and your git bash. So it's a feature for specifically for git bash. So she'll use this command that I have shared with you in the chat and then paste the URL again. So again run this command git remote add origin and then URL, but paste the URL properly. And I can see someone was asking that unable to paste. Sajid was saying I can't paste URL. You can't paste the token. Is that what you are talking about, Sajid? When it is asking you for the password, you cannot paste it over there. Just right click over there and click on paste. It should give the option. If you can't paste it, I don't know what I can, like how I can help you with that over there. Then in that case, just type out the URL. Just type the URL over there if you can't paste it. Sajid, you can run this command, git remote -v. Whatever name will be mentioned over there, if you want to remove it, you can run the command git remote remove and then the name. So git remote remove and then the name you can do to remove that particular URL. Share the entire error with me, Rohan, not just the section. Share the full error with me. Yeah, so your branch name is not master. Branch name is main. That's why I specifically mentioned everyone. Run the git branch command and check what is the name of your branch. Okay, so since we are about the halfway point now, I'll create a poll to get an input from you guys whether you want a break or not. No need to mention it in the chat. I need the numbers. So I need the input from everyone. I will create a poll and you can let me know over the poll whether you want to have a break or if you want to continue with the assignment. I'm launching the poll now. Can let me know over the poll what your thoughts are. In the meanwhile, we'll go ahead and move on to the next assignment, which is our assignment number 2. This is our second assignment, which is present. And these are the option or these are the steps that we have been asked to perform. So now the particular assignment starts with creating the Git repository with feature1 and feature2.txt in the master branch. So this is what we're going to do next once we get back from the break. So I'm ending the poll now. I think most of the people have participated. So around 65% of the people have mentioned for the break, 35% have mentioned for no break, and among the people who have mentioned for the break, 40% have mentioned for a 10-minute break, 15% for 15-minute break, and 10% for 20-minute break. So we will have a 10-minute break in that case. And once we get back, we will have a look at the rest of the assignments that we are supposed to perform. So I will share my screen with the timer. So I've shared the timer. I'm going to start it. and we will have a 10-minute break, and once we get back we will have a look at the rest of the assignments. Okay, so I hope everyone is back from the break. Please let me know in the chat. Okay, so we will go ahead and start with the second assignment now. And what we have to do in the second assignment is we simply have to follow all of the uh, points that we have been given. Now, the points are, first of all, it is create a Git working directory with feature1 and feature2.txt in the master branch. Now, what this means, we have to create a repository. So we'll create a folder, we'll initialize Git inside the folder, we'll create two files inside that folder, feature1.txt, feature2.txt, and we will stage and commit both of those files to create the master branch, because you cannot create the master branch manually. You have to create the master branch by making a commit, by staging some files and making a commit. Only that way you can create the master branch. You cannot create the master branch manually. Okay, so we'll create a new folder. So mkdir assignment 2. Go inside the folder and then we initialize git. So git init, and after that we create two files, feature1 and feature2.txt. So touch feature1.txt and feature2.txt. After creating the two files, we stage and commit both of these two files. So git add space dot to stage the two files, and then we commit them using the git commit command. So git commit, committing feature1.txt and feature2.txt. Once both of those files have been staged and committed, now we do have our master branch ready. So if we do git branch, we have our master branch, and as per the assignment statement, we have our master branch in the particular repository available now. So the next step for us is to go ahead and create three more branches, develop feature 1 and feature 2. So we create the three branches, feature develop develop feature 1 and feature 2. We create these three branches over there. So git branch develop, git branch feature 1 and git branch feature 2. So with this, all three of our branches are now created. And then we move on to the develop branch. So we switch to the develop branch, create the file over there called develop.txt, but we do not stage or commit that particular file. So we simply switch to that particular branch. We simply switch to develop branch. We create a file called develop.txt, and we do nothing else with that file. That is all we do. Next, we simply just stash the file. So what is stashing? Stashing is basically hiding. So I'm basically hiding the file so that I do not accidentally stage or commit it. That is all I'm doing. Okay. That is all I'm doing over there so that I do not accidentally stage or committing it. I simply just hide the file. I simply just stash the file. So I switch to develop, create the file called develop.txt. But I do not stage or commit that particular develop.txt file. Instead, I stash it. So basically, I'm hiding the file so that I do not accidentally stage or commit it. So everyone, please let me know, do you understand what stashing is? It is simply hiding. So I'm simply hiding the file so that I do not accidentally stage or commit it. That is the purpose of stashing. And in order to stash a file, we use the command git stash. And then since in this case, it is an untracked file, we will do that. Yasin, please hold on. This part of the assignment, I will show how to unstash the file as well. So since this is an untracked file that we are stashing, we have to add the -u flag. So git stash -u is going to it's going to stash this file. So basically hiding the file so that we do not accidentally stage or commit it. So now you can see develop.txt is not visible to me anymore. It has basically been stashed. Now, the next task for me is to switch to the feature one branch. So once I have stashed the file develop.txt, now I am supposed to switch to the feature one branch. So git checkout feature one. And once I have checked out to feature one branch, we should be in that branch where we need to hide files. Sushil, in this case, it would not matter because I have not staged the file. Since the file is not staged, it does not belong to any branch. So we can stash it anywhere, we can unstash it anywhere. If it was part of a particular branch, then we would not have been able to unstash it in a separate branch. Okay. So we switch to the develop branch. We switch to the feature one branch. Yes, the file name is not going to be mentioned. Rohit, there were three files. Among the three files, two files were already staged and committed. Only develop.txt file was left. And since it was an untracked file, we mentioned the -u flag. As a result, this file was also this file was also stashed. And only this file was stashed because the other two files were already committed. The file name is not going to be mentioned during stashing. So we switch to the feature one branch. Let's check out feature one. And after that, we create another file called new.txt in the feature one branch. And we stage and commit that particular file. Sushil, minus U means include untracked. So whatever untracked files are going to be there, those will be stashed. When you are doing git commit, you don't mention the names of the file because git knows which files are supposed to be committed. You do not mention the name of the file during stashing. In our case, only one file was there. Hence, when we mentioned the -u flag, the only untracked file that was there, that was staged. So we're going to create a new file now in the feature one branch, and we're going to stage and commit that particular file. So touch new.txt. Then both of those files will be stashed. It is include untracked. We do not mention the name of a file. If there are two files, both of those files will be stashed. So we create a new file called new.txt as mentioned, and then we stage and commit that particular file. So git add new.txt, and then we commit that particular file. Once we have done that, the next step for us is to check out to the develop branch again, unstash that particular file, stage it and commit it. So we check out back to develop, unstash the file, and the command we use for that is git stash pop, which unstashes all of the stashed files. And we have the develop.txt file back, so it is not hidden anymore. We have unstashed it, and once we have unstashed the file, we have to now stage and commit it. So git add develop.txt, and then git commit, committing develop.txt. So with this, we have unstashed and staged and committed the develop.txt file. Now I'll do the history, and I will share the history of the commands that we have run in the code share link. So that was the second assignment. Now we'll move on to the third assignment. So I'll give you 5 minutes or so to perform it on your end. And then we will move on to the third assignment, and I will perform it over there next. No, Sushil, we do not have to push that to GitHub. We are doing whatever is mentioned in the assignment. And for assignment 2, it is not required for us to push it to GitHub. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes now. So we will move on now to the next assignment, which is assignment number 3. So let us create the folder required for this. I'll clear everything. We'll create the next folder for this, so assignment 3. And initialize git over there as well. So git init. And now this is an overview of the branches you need to create. So total number of branches, develop F1, F2 and master. So the first point is saying that we actually have to perform, that is create main.txt file and stage it and commit it in the master branch. So let us create the file called main.txt and stage and commit that file. So git, touch main.txt, because that is the name that we have been given. So touch main.txt, stage the file. So git add main.txt and then commit it. Like I mentioned for the earlier assignment as well, we cannot create the master branch manually. We have to create it by staging and committing a file. So committing main.txt. And this creates the master branch. So git branch will now show us that we have the master branch created. Now, once we have done that, the next step for us is to create 3 more branches, develop F1 and F2, and have the files corresponding to their branch names in those respective branches. So in develop branch, I have develop.txt. In F1 branch, I have f1.txt, and in the F2 branch, I have f2.txt. So first point is obviously to create the branches. So git branch develop, git branch f1, and git branch f2. And once I have all of my branches created, we just have to go ahead and put the files corresponding to their branches. So develop branch has develop.txt, f1 branch has f1.txt, and the f2 branch is going to have f2.txt. That is what we need to do. After that is done, we push all of the branches to GitHub. So let us switch first of all to develop branch. So git checkout develop, and there we go ahead and create the develop.txt file and we stage and commit it. So touch develop.txt, we stage the file. So git add develop.txt and we commit it. So git commit, committing develop.txt. And this thing we are going to repeat for the other branches as well. So for F1 and F2 branch, we will have to repeat this. Okay, so git checkout F1, touch f1.txt, git add f1.txt, and then git commit, committing f1.txt. Committing f1.txt. And finally, we do the same thing for the F2 branch as well. So git branch F2, or I'm sorry, git checkout F2, because you already do have the branches created. So git checkout F2, create the f2.txt file. So touch f2.txt, stage the f2.txt file, and then we commit it. So git add f2.txt, and then we commit that particular file. So git commit, committing f2.txt. Once we have staged and committed all of the files, the next step for us is to go ahead and push all of the branches to GitHub. Okay, so we have to push all of these branches over there to GitHub. So we do git remote add origin, and then we mention the URL. So it is going to be a different repository. We don't use the same repository for multiple projects. So we'll create a new repository for this, and I'm going to name it as 1107 assignment 2. I'm sorry, assignment 3 for Git. So Git assignment 3, and I create the repository. I copy the URL, the HTTPS URL, and I paste it over there. So git remote add origin and then the URL. And then we simply push it. So git push, and then we have a lot of branches over here. So we have master, F1, F2, develop. Okay. What we need to do, we don't need to push all of these branches at once. I'm going to push them one by one. So first I'm going to push master, and then the rest of the 3 branches I'm going to push all at once. Now why? Because there is something called a default branch over there in Git. So in GitHub, if I push all of these branches at once, the default branch will be selected by GitHub. Whereas I want to select the default branch as my master branch, but if I push all of them at once, the default branch might be considered as another branch, right? It might not be considered as the master branch. So that's why I push the master branch first. So git push origin master. Samir 8080, and then copy and paste the token for the password. This pushes the master branch over here. So now if I refresh and if I click over here on the branches, you will see that default is the master branch. Whereas if I had pushed all of the branches at once, it would have been chosen by GitHub. So there is a, like, obviously there is a chance that master would be the default branch even if I pushed all of the branches at once, but I did not want to take that chance. I wanted to absolutely make sure that my master branch is the default branch, because that is the case over here. Because my master branch was the first branch, and then from master I've created all the other branches. So my default branch is my master branch. I don't want to change that. Hence, I have pushed only my master branch first. And for the next part, I can do git push origin minus minus all in order to push all the rest of the branches. Once I do this, it will ask me for my username, enter the token, and then it will push all the rest of the 3 branches at once. Now, if I go here and if I refresh, the number of branches will be changing to 4, and instead of master, just we will have master develop F1 F2. So all the 4 branches we now have available. So everyone, please let me know if you are clear with this up until here or not. Okay, great. So we're not done with the assignment as of yet. We still have the 5th and the 6th point left. So we have pushed the branches to GitHub. So that is our 4th point, but 5th and 6th are still left. So what we have to do for that is, it is mentioning on local, delete the F2 branch, and then delete that F2 branch on GitHub as well. Yes, yeah, Yasin has mentioned, yes, if you had to push 2 branches, you can give the names of those 2 branches while pushing. So we have to delete the F2 branch in our local repository. So git branch, I have to delete the F2 branch. So if I try to do it right now, so git branch minus minus delete F2 is going to say cannot delete branch F2 checked out at home Ubuntu assignment 3. The reasoning behind that, I am currently at the F2 branch. I'm currently checked out at the F2 branch. I cannot delete the branch if I'm currently residing on that branch, right? You cannot cut the branch of a tree if you're sitting on that particular branch, because in that case you would fall. So for that reason, we cannot delete the F2 branch if I'm currently residing on the F2 branch, if I'm checked out at the F2 branch. So I have to switch to a different branch. In my case, I'll just switch to master. So git checkout master. And then if I run the branch for deleting, and with minus minus delete, it is saying that we cannot use the minus minus delete flag. Instead, we have to use the minus capital D flag. So git branch minus capital D, and this is going to delete my F2 branch successfully. So now if I will do git branch, you will see that F2 branch is now successfully deleted. Okay. Apart from deleting the F2 branch from my local machine, I also have to delete, or from my local repository, I also have to delete it from GitHub. So I have to delete that branch on GitHub as well. And in order to do that, I run this command. So git push origin minus minus delete F2. This is going to delete the F2 branch from my remote repository over there as well. So if I run this command, it is going to ask me for my username and token, Samir8080, and paste the token over there. And this is going to delete the F2 branch from my remote repository. So now if I refresh this over here, you will see that we'll only have 3 branches instead of the 4. So master develop F1. Only the 3 branches are now present over here. F2 branch has been successfully deleted. Okay, so this is how we can go ahead and delete the branches from our local as well as our remote repositories from our terminal. So I hope everyone is clear with this. Please let me know in the chat. Okay, so I'll update the history in the code shell link. I've updated it in the code shell link. As for the 4th assignment, we'll go ahead and perform. Yes, in related branch origin and command. Yes, you have to use origin and command to signify that you are deleting it from your remote repository. So normally how you would push the branch. So git push origin, branch name, but you add the minus minus delete flag in between to signify that you are deleting that particular branch instead of pushing it. Okay, so I've updated the commands in the code shell link. You can go ahead and run it on your end. As for the 4th assignment, so basically we have what we have left is the 4th assignment and 2 of the case studies. So one case study is the Git workflow architecture, and the assignment number 5th is also the Git workflow architecture that we have to perform. So we have the 5th assignment, which is Git workflow. We have case study 1, which is also Git workflow, and we have our merge conflict resolution. So these 3 we are going to do tomorrow, which is our assignment number 4 our two case studies. So workflow case study, get workflow case study, and merge conflict resolution case study. Case study 1 and assignment 5, like I mentioned, both are there to show you the Git workflow architecture. These three we're going to do tomorrow. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Go ahead and run the commands for the third assignment on your end. And if you'll get any errors, you can let me know in the chat. Or if you will have any doubts regarding what we have discussed today, you can also let me know about the chat about that. Okay, Rafalia is done with it. Others also, please let me know once you will be done. Okay, so now I think that most of the people are done with the third assignment as well. So that is it for today's session. If you have any doubts, please let me know in the chat. If you are clear with it, uh, not what we have discussed, please let me know about that as well. Like if you have any doubts regarding what we have discussed today. Okay, so it doesn't seem like anyone has any doubts. So in that case, I'm wrapping up the session now. I'm stopping my screen share and I'm wrapping up the session now. Thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you again tomorrow for the rest of the assignments and the case study which are left. Okay, everyone. So thank you for joining, and I'm wrapping up the session now.